Hello, my name is Carol May Whittick and welcome to Her Conversations Tools for the Awakening Woman. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. It is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. And who is the Awakening Woman? Well, she is a woman who's seeking a greater possibility in her reality and she's looking for solutions. She knows that being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If she's able to transform herself, then she can change the world. Her conversations will introduce you to talented women who will speak to your spirituality, sensuality, and your soul. They share their stories and explain who they are in service to the world. So let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. On this week's Her Conversations, I'm joined by Rachael Welford of Welford Wellbeing. Through her company, Rachael offers a range of healing modalities, including meditation, Reiki, and Gong Baths, and all of these are pitched perfectly for the stressed out Londoner who's looking for some calm in this crazy city. I feel that one of the main factors in Rachael's success is her candour about her own experiences and her total approachability when it comes to things like spirituality. During our time together, Rachael shares the reality of living with depression and anxiety. She talks about how she found value within that challenge and what it actually means to be a spiritual person living in a city like London. So as always, I pose the same opening question to all of my guests. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel at your most her?
Firstly, when I'm meditating, like when I'm in my space and I get into this kind of really beautiful connected space where I just feel like everything is like, and I'm really vibing. I feel like my energy gets really big and I'm like, and no stress, no worries, no thoughts, no anything, just like this connected kind of beautiful space. So that's the first one. But secondly is like transformation in people that come to my workshops and people that I work with one-to-one. Like I get such a buzz of watching the aha moments and the penny dropping and people kind of like making positive changes in their own lives and you know, moving forward with things and kind of getting out of their own way. Like it actually makes me feel like expansive and like stoked for them as well. So yeah, they're the two, I guess, when I'm on my own and when I'm with other people as well.
That's perfect. Thank you. And then so with the work that you're doing now, obviously everyone goes through a journey and we don't just kind of wake up in this kind of awakened state where we're doing this amazing work.
If only.
We're born of the world and we have to kind of journey through the world before we get to the point where we're confident enough to even take the step. So can you just kind of talk us through how your story and how your life has led to you doing the amazing stuff that you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure, of course. Where do I start? So I guess I'd always had an interest in things outside of what we can sense with our own senses, even from a really small child, but I didn't really start to explore that more until I got older. When there used to be this crystal shop near my mum's house and I used to run in there and stick my hands in all the bowls and my mum would be like, come on, you know, have to come and collect me back out of there. So I kind of always had like crystals and things like that, but I didn't really know what any of it meant. My mum has, since I started doing this work, been like, oh, you know that your nan's a bit psychic, and like when you were a kid you used to see things and talk to things that weren't there and stuff, and you were a bit, you know, so I think I always had this connection but I didn't really know what it was. I basically spent most of my 20s and into my early 30s just working hard and playing hard, going up the ladder in my sales career, working in action sports, doing lots of different events and sales, and it was very, very busy. I was very much like work hard, play hard, you know, I can cope, I can take it, go, go, go all the time, until unfortunately all these coping mechanisms and different things that I'd built up over many, many years all collapsed in on me and I burnt out. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety clinically, and I was medicated for that. I had to move home with my parents, which, as much as I love them and I'm so grateful to them, it wasn't really the one when you're like in your 30s and you kind of haven't lived at home for a really long time. It was kind of a bit of a shock to have to accept that help. But I was really sick. I didn't get out of bed for about 3 months. I didn't work for nearly a year. And during that time, a friend of mine had just sort of said, "Oh, have you heard of Louise Hay before?" And I was like, "No." She said, "Oh, she might be able to help you." And so I went for therapy, traditional kind of talking therapy, and that helped to an extent. But I started feeling like, and I had always felt like, I had this kind of inner feeling of there has to be more to life than this. I can't just keep getting up and going to work and then what? Like, I die. Like, I always felt like there was something missing, like I wasn't connected, like I was alone, and there was just, I don't know, something missing. And then speaking to my mum and various people, they were like, "Well, I think you've probably had depression for a really long time." I tried to commit suicide when I was 14 and I didn't know why. So this all started making sense. I'm like, well, of course, because you've got depression. So lots of things started slotting into place, really. And I just started working with Louise Hay stuff, looking at affirmations, starting to try and change my neuro pathways and get rid of all these negative thoughts. And yeah, from there I discovered Reiki, emotional freedom technique, the tapping, which I now am trained in, and a variety of other techniques, and of just learning to listen to yourself, listen to your body, and follow what you want to do. And so then I kind of went back to work and realised that it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and that this was lighting me up more than anything. So I launched Welford Wellbeing full time. It went live at the end of May this year. So it's been an exciting, if somewhat treacherous journey.
The life of an entrepreneur, eh?
Yeah, but also the life of a spiritual person, you know. Like, I think a lot of people, when they come onto this path, it's like really enlightening and really exciting, and you're like, "Oh my God, I found all these new ways and I feel so good about myself." And then it's like, I've got to dredge the swamp again, and you have to go back down and dredge and clear and light and down and dredge. You know, but it works.
And I wanted to just kind of touch on a little bit of, you talk about having anxiety and depression, and you're very open and very candid about that. And I think that's what helps draw a lot of people to you, because I think there's more people than not that have some level of anxiety or depression, you know, for many reasons. A lot of the time is because they're not living a life that's fulfilling to them, but they're not really able to identify it. Was there a point that within that where you could start to see the message within it as well? Because I know from my own experience, where I've never really been clinically diagnosed as anything, because within my family there's been depression, mental illness and all this kind of thing, and I've seen very close family members have medications for lots of years. So for that reason, I've been very reluctant to go down the pharmaceutical way of dealing with that, because I've seen how one medication leads to another and another and another, and it hasn't really helped that way. So I've kind of taken the long way round. But in understanding how I can almost see how it benefited me, having that time where I was just kind of disconnected from everything. Have you got that kind of awareness or that feeling about that period of time for you, you know, when you were literally unable to function on a level that would kind of match up to what someone thinks is a not depressed person? Were there areas within that where you could see this is benefiting me somehow, or did you not get that feeling?
Oh, 100%. I think it's really funny. I'm almost like, my breakdown was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. I mean, when you're in that space, it's horrendous. Like, I don't think, unless you've really been there, I don't think you can really understand it. I definitely didn't. You know, I used to think things like, "Oh, well, you know, you just pull yourself out of it. I mean, you know, you just pull yourself together," until it happened to me. And then I was like, you literally can't. Like, I remember being in bed and thinking, like, if someone came in now and was like, everyone you care about is dead, I would have just been like,
no feeling.
I couldn't feel anything. I was so numb. There was nothing. And this is the thing for me, I think, not that you can really say one or the other is worse, but like when I was depressed, I didn't feel anything. So I didn't care about anything. I couldn't, I describe it as like, it felt like there was a light switch in my back, and it was like someone had turned me off. Like I had nothing, no feelings, no emotions, no things that I used to get excited about and joy. And I mean, anyone that knows me, I'm quite an excitable person. I just couldn't get joy in anything. I couldn't get excited about anything. I didn't want to do anything. And then on the flip side of that, you have anxiety, which is just, for me, way worse than depression, in the sense of, you could be sat in a room full of people who are your closest, nearest and dearest friends, who love you unconditionally, and you think, they all hate me. Everyone in this room hates me. They wish I wasn't here. I can't, I shouldn't speak. I shouldn't say anything. Oh yeah, go on, try that joke. No one's going to laugh. All this kind of like awful internal dialogue that is a like spiral that just gets so out of control, and it's all consuming your whole body. You can't breathe properly. Your stomach goes. You're like, oh my God, everything. You're on high alert constantly. Like everything's dangerous. Everything's fearful. Everything's like you can't function. You've got no brain space to even do anything. It's really terrifying, actually, not knowing your own mind. So when I started to come out of that, it was a really beautiful space. And when I started being able to meditate and not meditate in the way that maybe many other people that are listening to this do, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's part of the process. But when you first start to sit and meditate, and you're sitting going, this is ridiculous, why can't I switch my mind off? Oh my God, I forgot to post that letter. Oh shit, that email, oh my God, why did I say that? Oh, when I was 15, I wish I'd said that other thing back to that person in that argument. All this like crazy stuff. Eventually, when that starts to stop and everything becomes like calmer, it's such a beautiful, beautiful space to be in. And now, like, being able to be off medication, and I've got nothing against Western medicine, I've got nothing against medication. I think for a lot of people that is the route, and to be honest, for me, I think I needed the medication to get myself to a space where I could start doing this work, because I was just so poorly. There's no way I would have been able to even begin to get anywhere. However, I would say that coming off of medication was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do in my whole life. So I wouldn't take it lightly going on it. But again, I'm not a medical professional, so I'll leave that to the doctors to kind of diagnose and give medication. But from my experience, it was very, very difficult to get back off it, and the side effects that I had were very extreme. I don't know if that's everybody's experience, but it was pretty intense. So once all of that had kind of was done, and I was off the medication, and I was meditating every day, and I had a good physical practice in terms of the nutrition that I was taking into my body, and the kind of exercise and yoga and things like that I was doing, and I was just a lot more balanced and happy, and could kind of connect into these energies and feel like I was vibing and connected. Then yeah, I would say that at that point I started feeling like this really has benefited me, because I'm not going through life wishing that there was more, thinking there has to be more to life than this. I feel like there is, and I'm in it, and when you feel connected to everything that is, you don't feel alone anymore. You feel like we're all connected to everything. So it's kind of a really beautiful space to be in.
Amazing. That's so good. And what I wanted to ask you about, you were talking about the Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. Does it come to mind that point? Because one of the things that happens when we all start to step into this kind of space and start to do the work on ourselves is that initial part where you realize that you are responsible. And I don't mean to blame, but people hear that in a different way. of changing and turning your life around, and everything that's happened up until that point, you've got the power to make a difference. How long did it take for that kind of message to kind of click with you, that you realized that you were able to make a difference in that?
I think the message came through relatively quickly. I think the practice took a lot longer.
Yep.
You know, and it's daily practice, and it is do the work. I know my Reiki master, if she's going to listen to this at some point, will giggle, because she's always just like, if you do the work, you know, everything will come. And I think, you know, trying to think how to say this without sounding finger pointy or judgmental, but it's a lot of people, myself included, when you begin to take responsibility for yourself, and by taking responsibility for yourself, I mean your behavior, the way you respond to things, your thought processes, what you choose to put inside your body, whether that's, you know, food or alcohol, recreational drugs, plant medicine, you know, however you want to view what you put into your body, the people that you surround yourself with, the kinds of mental diet, so what you're willing to read, what you're willing to watch on, if you watch television or whatever, it's quite scary, because there's no one else to blame. So, you know, all the time that we're kind of giving up our power to other people, it's an easier space to be in, because it's not our fault, it's their fault. You know, you made me feel like this. You made me. Oh, it's not my fault. Me and my friend, we always drink 3 bottles of wine on a Wednesday night. Oh, when I'm with you, you always make me eat pizza. It's like, actually, when you start taking responsibility for yourself, it's scary, because there's no one else to blame. It's your responsibility. No one can make you eat anything. It's up to you what you eat. No one can make you drink or imbibe anything. It's up to you what you do. If people that you're spending your time with are making you feel horrendous and bad about yourself, and they make you feel downtrodden and beaten down, your choice is that you don't have to hang around with them anymore, because you're in control of who you bring into your environment, and whether you stay in environments or whether you leave. And there are obvious, and especially with your thought processes, you know, even there's some, I'm trying to think of the person that it was now, there was a really inspirational quote from someone that was in jail, and they were like, you can lock me up, you can control my space, but you can't control my mind, and I'm not going to let you.
Nelson Mandela? I mean, it
might have been Nelson Mandela. I'm trying to think who it was now. But I remember like hearing that and thinking that it really resonated, and just being like, yeah, it's true. You know, I wouldn't speak to anyone the way that I used to speak to myself. You know, I would consistently berate myself. You're so stupid, you idiot. You know, you're too fat, you're disgusting. You're never going to meet anyone because you're so fat, and you know, if only I could be like this or like that, or, you know, just constantly. And it's exhausting fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself and you just realize that you can be nice to yourself, you don't have to berate yourself to get anywhere. You don't have to, you know, follow these old patterns of behavior. You can change. It's not always, a lot of the time, actually, the things that you need to do are simple,
but not easy.
But they're not easy. And, you know, when I first started retraining my neuro pathways, so turning my negative thoughts into positive thoughts, and I was probably doing it about 4,000 or 5,000 times a day. I'm not exaggerating. So, you know, I would say, oh, I can't believe you did that again. You're such an idiot. This is an old thought pattern. I no longer need it. I choose to believe I'm not an idiot. I choose to reaffirm I am intelligent. I am strong. I trust myself. That's bullshit. This is an old thought pattern. I no longer need it. I choose to believe I am intelligent. I trust myself. Why are you saying all these things? You're never going to, you know, and your brain essentially tries to keep you safe. Yeah. And over here is safe and over here is negative, and it's safe because it's what we've always done. And so when you try and pull it over here, hey brain, we're going over here now, it's nice over here. Brain goes, no, don't know that, doesn't make sense, don't feel safe. I'm going to keep you safe over here. This is what we've always done. So it takes a lot of persistence and a lot of practice and a lot of daily work to bring it over here. And I still use that. You know, I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. It's like, do I still get negative thoughts? Yeah. Do I still get them 4, 5, 10,000 times a day? No. You know, it's maybe a few times a week I have to pull myself back into my space. So it gets easier, but it is daily practice. And I think for anyone that's listening to this that's maybe struggling with those things, it's just be kind to yourself. Take it slowly. We've got time. You know, don't berate yourself when you fall back into old patterns. You're trying to change the habit of a lifetime. It's not going to happen over a couple of years. You know, my process took maybe 4 or 5 years to get to where I am now. And I'm still doing work, and I still see an EFT practitioner myself. And I still, you know, because it's late, I always think of it as like layers. And you go through the first layer, it's all quite surface stuff. And the more that you get down and the more that you start to excavate all these layers of stuff, each time you get lighter and things get easier. But actually, when you have to go down and you dive down, when you're in that space, it's not always a really friendly, kind space to be in. So try and treat yourself with as much love and as much nurture as you can when you're going through that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point to make as well, because I think there's so much. In my awareness, it's died down now, maybe because I'm not looking so much at it, but there was just a lot of kind of like vision boards and love and light, and everything was all right and it's all good and we're all positive, and you know, the cars are coming, the house is coming, the money's coming. But then you're not dealing, like you say, with the layers and layers and layers of stuff that's there and the amount of work that needs to be done. And I think that's what needs to come out, and people need to be happy to do the work and know that it's going to take time, but at least tomorrow or you're going to be a little bit further than you were yesterday, and you're not going to be spiraling back into that same thing. Because, you know, like you say, as women, there's so many layers of stuff that we've got in our minds from ourselves, and then you go out into the world and you've got
culturally, societally, ancestrally. I'm like, oh god.
the fact that we kind of sitting and laughing and seeing the funny side of it is a wonder in itself, really, because, you know, if you look at it going, we've got lifetimes and like you say, lifetimes of stuff to unfold. It's like, why would anyone bother?
Yeah, honestly, I say this a lot. I'm like, oh my god, I miss hot mess Rachel. I do. I miss her. Like, she was so oblivious to any, how I didn't know I had depression. I've no idea. I used to wish that I would get hit by a car every time I crossed the road. You know, I literally would cross the road and I would think, please let me get hit by a car. And I'd be like, I don't want to die, but I used to fantasize about the different injuries that I could have, which, you know, sitting here now, it's like, oh my God, that's so effed up. Like, you know, it horrifies me that I wanted to injure myself. But I used to think, like, imagine if you just say, like, broke both your legs and you could just be in hospital for like a month and you wouldn't have to work and you could just rest. And it was like, all my body was trying to do and all my brain was trying to do was say to me, you need to rest. You're doing too much. You cannot cope. But I didn't hear that, because when you're so busy, when your mind's so busy, when you're like, I have to get up, go to Bikram, cycle to work, need to do my fitness, make all my lunch, do this, go in, be amazing at my job, manage my team, you know, like make sure I'm fun, make sure I'm doing whatever. Oh God, don't forget dating. You're going to be alone forever. TikTok, your maternal clock's ticking. Like, do you want to have kids? Are you going to do that? Like, oh my God, you're not married yet. All your friends are getting married. Oh my God. Then sit at your desk, emails, presentations, go and do that meeting, run to the thing, grab coffee, do lunch, come out, go back to work, typey, go for after work drinks. Don't forget to network, be friendly. Have you called your mum? Oh my God. It's like, when you've got that going, you can't sit and be like,
because it seems like you haven't got the time to do that, unfortunately, because everyone feels so busy, like you say, your mind and your day is chocked up with like minutes, your micro minute, everything is busy, that it's like, I haven't got 20 minutes to sit down and meditate. Whereas the idea of it is, if you took the 20 minutes, then your day would be so much better.
Well, that's the amazing thing, isn't it? You should meditate for 20 minutes a day unless you're busy. Then you should meditate for an hour.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And it's when you actually begin to give yourself space, this is the thing. When you begin to create space, and they talk about this a lot in yoga as well, you know, when you do yoga and they try and find space in the body. For me, meditation, EFT, all these practices are about helping you to find space so that you can relax your mind, you can release old patterns of behavior, release old emotions that are no longer serving you, and like old stories that you're telling yourself. You can realign yourself, get your mind, body, spirit, soul, whatever, however you want to call it, get everything in alignment with the breath. And then you can reset, and then you can start afresh, you know. And you can do that. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You can do that every day. So every day you can sit for 10 minutes and just relax and allow yourself to just relax your body, relax your mind, take it to the breath, you know, and just breathe in and out, and really gently with yourself, just gently actually allow your body to relax, allow your mind to stop. Just give yourself those 10 minutes. Like if someone said to you, you've got 10 minutes to live, you're going to die in 10 minutes. It would seem like a really, really short space of time. But when someone says to you, sit quietly for 10 minutes, it seems like a really long space of time, you know? And it gets easier. Like I remember when I first started meditating, I couldn't sit in silence for 10 minutes. Now I can sit quite comfortably for at least 40 an hour. It's not a problem. Sometimes longer if I get into a really nice space, you know, and sometimes I'll blink and be like, wow. And anyone that's ever had a morning meeting with me might know when I ran in all flustered, sorry, I've got into my meditation and I've overran and, you know, whatever. But it's giving yourself that space. And this is really what Welford Wellbeing is about, is I just want to show people another option, another way of doing things, because I didn't even consider that I wouldn't go out and drink. I didn't even think that would be an option. I didn't consider that maybe going to Bikram 5 times a week wasn't good for me, because what my body and my mind needed was rest. And Bikram's quite an intense, for people that don't know what it is, it's quite an intense hot yoga practice. And I've got nothing against Bikram. I still enjoy the practice, but you know, sometimes in my workshops, people say to me when we're talking about self-love, oh, but I have to go to the gym and I have to have a bath and I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's like their self-care routine becomes part of their to-do list. It becomes part of the stress. And that's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're trying to achieve. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is have a lay-in, or say no to that drinks do that you really don't want to go to because you're tired. You know, other times, actually what's best for you would be to whack your lipstick on, put on that dress so you feel a bit sexy, you feel a bit sassy, and you go out and you enjoy yourself and you let your hair down, you know. But it's tuning into yourself and asking yourself, like, what one of those things, like not making it, I have to do this, I should be doing this, but I feel good when I do this. I feel relaxed when I do this. I feel in flow when I do this, you know, just tuning into yourself and asking yourself and listening and trusting yourself when it tells you what you need.
I know, I understand that. Having the body telling you to sit down. I've just had a week of, we spoke last week, of just being forced to just like lie in bed for a week. It was like excruciating. I didn't think I was like overworked, but then everyone that I've spoken to that, you know, can see a little bit wider has been like, you know, someone's telling you to like sit there
to relax,
because you've got a lot of stuff on. You're trying to do all of these things, and even, you'll laugh at this, I even went to the supermarket one of the days and I ended up meeting a spiritual healer. And she came up to me and she was like praying for me in the middle of Sainsbury's, bless her.
I love that though. It's like the universe going, listen.
Because I'd gone in there and I wanted some nuts, and they like, of course, were like on the bottom. The only way that I could move around was literally to squat down and to squat up again. So I was doing this very kind of gentle movement. I came down and then I came up again, and then just kind of did a little, oh, she kind of came over with a basket and going, "Are you all right?" And she was like, I'm tall, and she's like kind of shoulder height.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I'm perfectly fine. I've just like hurt my back a little bit." And she was like, gave me her card, started telling me about the work that she was doing. She was like, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" I'm like, "Literally, look, go ahead, And she's like, "I'm just going to be like calling something." So it's like, yeah, if you saw me in like Sainsbury's in Muswell Hill last week with a woman touching my back,
in the nut aisle. I'm not nuts, I was just picking up.
I was getting my blanched almonds, And one of the things, we're talking about signs from the universe, and I think after a while you kind of start to notice when you're being told certain things, like,
yeah,
I'm like, my body's like, sit down for a week, just relax, stay in bed, read, write, but just stop running around and put, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. And I couldn't even really delve into my practice to a point as well, which then started to really wind me up as well. I'm not doing the practice. I had to like take time out from it, I think, to see the contrast. But how can, people notice the signs? What, they're waiting for like thunderbolt and lightning, or like kind of like messages. It's like we're always being told things. You'll hear a song on the radio, a book will fall off the shelf for some people. Is how can you start to kind of read the signs that you're being told something? How can you be subtle like that? Feel the subtle.
I don't know. Do you know what? For me, it's like I just know, and I don't know how else to say it other than I just know, because it seems crazy. Like one day I walked past a house and the house number was 333, and I couldn't stop looking at it. It was like and as I walked past, I just kept, and then I was like, oh, and I kind of got absorbed by this house number. And I still remember it was like a diagonal, it was in Brighton, sort of diagonal 333 in metal against this like dark wall, really beautiful. Anyone that's into interior design, very beautiful. And I just sort of was like very much like, and that was one of the first times I started noticing numbers, because I didn't believe this angel number thing. Like people go, well, I used to see it a lot and people would say, oh my God, I see these numbers everywhere. And I used to think, what a load of shit. Sorry, numerologists and angel number people. I think, oh God, well, that's a load of bullshit. Like people are just trying to pretend that they're like spiritual or whatever just because they've seen a fucking number. Like it doesn't, like, well, you're going to potentially say that number twice a day, every day, because it's your client. Like, that's what happens. But then recently, oh my God, it's got to be a running joke how many times I see 111 or 1111 everywhere. And when I went to Ibiza to relax recently, just for like a real break, 444 everywhere, to the point of we were driving along the motorway, every car that pulled in front of us had 444 in the number plate. And I said to the Tara who I was with, she's coming over soon actually to do a full moon ritual event with me. You should come on the 4th of November. It's going to be brilliant. Let me know if you want to come. I'm sorry, digressing. I just said to her, I was like, oh my God, I keep seeing these 4s everywhere. And I was like, look at all these cars. And then we were like, ended up giggling because like literally every car, it was like a joke. And I see 111 everywhere. Like even the other day when I went for dinner with my friend, our table number was 111 and the restaurant was tiny. Like there was only about 10 tables in the restaurant. So I'm like, how is it on the receipt that the table was on? And I've started screenshotting and taking pictures, and like the use by date on this samosa that I got from the train station when I was running to Brighton was all rubbed off apart from 111. And it, just weird stuff like that. And I'm like, this is so bizarre. And I don't openly, for your audience, it's kind of easier to talk about, but a lot of the time I don't talk about kind of angels and this and that, because a lot of people switch off, and I used to be like that too, you know, before I really started tuning into those vibes and those messages and really trusting in my intuition and my clairvoyance and guides and all that kind of stuff. But when you start tuning into it, it's almost impossible to not see them. And it's just trusting yourself, I think, more than anything, that when you see that white feather that just seems to just float down, or like I get a lot of stuff with ravens, and like the other day a raven literally just flew down in London and sat in the middle of the pavement in front of me and was just looking at me with its head cocked to the side like that. And I was like, oh, hey, pal, you know. And then he just hopped onto the railings, and then he was looking at me and I was looking at him. And for anyone, I guess I've not really spoken about this publicly, but I guess it might help some people as well in who are listening to this, maybe, like, when I didn't know what a channel was. I didn't know that channeling was a thing. I didn't know that you could bring through messages. And when I was really unwell with depression and anxiety, I thought I had schizophrenia. I thought I had some kind of really serious mental illness. And I remember kind of having a conversation with my mum and being panicked and saying to her, don't section me, please don't section me. Like, you know, and I was so worried because I had all these voices in my head and all these things going on. And I couldn't decipher between like what was me and my thoughts and what was external. And sometimes it felt like I was having these arguments in my head and I'd be like, oh my God, this is like full on. And then as everything started to calm and I started to meditate more and things like that, I still would occasionally get these voices, but it was like they were helpful, and I would know that it wasn't my thoughts because they would always talk to me not in the first person. So it wasn't like when I have a thought and it's like, oh, I'm going to make a cup of tea, it would be like, you should make a cup of tea instead. So then I was like, this is bizarre. And then I sort of confided in my Reiki master and was like, I think I'm crazy. I don't, you know, I hadn't spoke to anyone about it. And she's like, oh, you're a channel, you know, cash. I was like, what's a channel? Oh, you just bring things through, you know, whatever. And like now I've had experiences where, you know, and it doesn't happen all the time. And this is the thing, you know, it's not like, I don't think I'm a medium or whatever. Like, I think there's people that probably have a much stronger connection than I do. But I've had experiences now where messages have come through for people and I've said, do you know this name? They said to say this, and they're like, oh my God, that's my dead grandmother, or like, that's my, you know, whatever. And to be honest, I get quite freaked out about it still. It's something that I'm still working with to be comfortable with. But I guess what I'm trying to say is for people that maybe are listening to this, trust yourself. And if you have these things and you feel like it's supportive and kind, it's not a damaging inner voice, it's probably a guide of some description, and they're probably trying to help you. And the more that you trust in that, the more you let that flow, the more that you become an empty conduit for things to come through, the easier it is. When you're trying to fight it and you're like, oh, this is creeping me out, get away, whatever, it's more difficult.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things I want to just add to that. First, with regards to angel numbers, for anyone who's interested in that, there's a really good website called Sacred Scribes. I can't remember the exact URL, but I can put it in the show.
I'm going to write that down.
Joanna something. I usually, if you put Sacred Scribes in, and whoever has done it is like literally a labor of love, because she's done every combination of number, starting from 11 through to like 4 ones, and then it's like all the ones and all the 2s and all the 3s, the 4s, the 5s, the 6, all the way up to 8, 9, 10. No.
Amazing.
And then what you can do is go on the page and then click through, and then it will take you through a definition. It's like whoever's created it, and you can tell by the way that the site's set.
I love it.
It's probably like, you know, a 2008 WordPress site or something like that. However, the content and the information on there is like totally amazing. So
this is the thing as well, because I get a lot of messages, loads actually. Sometimes I have to be like, okay, I'm trying to have a day here.
human, please. Like a bit 3D, don't you mind?
But it's fascinating to me because I get a lot of like animal stuff and whatever. And oftentimes when you Google it and then you look it up, or you have a book, or I've got different books and things that I reference, and so many times I'm just like, oh my God, that's what it is. And like sometimes with my clients as well, like I had with one client this particular animal that came through, and it was quite an odd colour for the animal. Like it shouldn't have really, it's not the kind of colour that you would associate with the animal. And I was like, oh, it's blue and red, da da da. And then we Googled it, and the first image that came up on Google Images was exactly as I described it. Wow. And we looked at it, and it was this spirit animal description of this exact image. And then the client said to me, oh my God, this is blah blah blah, and it really resonated with her, like the message. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I think when you start to be like, I don't know, I call it reclaiming my weird. It's like, I'm going to reclaim my weird. Okay, yeah, this stuff is weird. Reiki's weird, EFT's weird, like all these things that I'm doing, I was like, one of my friends, I was like, oh, what? She said, oh, your channel. I was like, oh, what? Like, I see dead people, like Sixth Sense. Do you know what I mean? Come on, mate. Really? Come on. But then actually when you embrace it and you kind of work with it, it's beautiful. It's so amazing. It's like, oh my God, I can access this magic. I can access this like beautiful other world outside of the world that we are in here. And not to say that you should live there, because I think this is the other issue, is then a lot of people, and I've been kind of privy to this a couple of times, is like, it's so beautiful in there. That you don't want to come back to this. You don't want to be like, oh, I've got to pay my gas bill, and I've got to like take responsibility again for my life in this dimension, So again, one of the things that I really like to teach is that let's access this. Let's take those messages. Let's try and be as in flow as possible when we're in this dimension, so it makes everything easier for us, rather than having this torment between like, I want to live up here, and I don't want to be down here. I like it up here, and then you end up with an imbalance with your energy as well. So it's very important to stay. I think it's nice what you said at the start. It's very important. Like, we do live in this dimension. We live in this. So it's important to ground yourself in this space that we live in as human beings, even if we want to have a spiritual experience while we're living in this body, this transportation thing, whatever you want to call it. It's, enjoy the fact that we're human.
And I think it gives you an extra tool, once you kind of get to grips with the fact that it's unusual, and maybe it's weird and stuff, but like, life is so much easier when you know that
and fun.
Access those tools. It's like when you see something turning up and you're like, man, I just totally manifested that shit, and you can't, it's like, unfortunately you can't tell everyone about it, but it's nice when you kind of like can confirm it with other people. Even talking about like animal signs, I had a tire blowout a couple of months ago. And it was like, I was working in a place where I was surrounded by people and I wasn't getting a moment's peace. And it was just like, I was like with them day and night. We were staying in a hotel. I couldn't get away from them. And it was like, on the day I was just like, I need some space. I need some space. I need some space. So on the final day, we're doing all these things. I get a blowout in the tire. So I'm stuck on the side of the road. So I've got my space. Like, it kind of, here's your space. But also right by the tire, there was a long pheasant feather as well.
Wow.
And that turned up, and it was about just kind of changing up. I was doing work that was not serving me. I was in a situation where people weren't seeing me, and every time I exerted myself, it was being misconstrued as aggression. When you're a very quiet person and then you start to assert yourself, people misread it a little bit. So that was, one of the things that when you trust the signs and voices as well, because the times that I haven't, has cost me time and money. So I've learnt.
Mate, I'm the same. I've learnt the hard way so many times. Like, because sometimes I'll get little, like, even, it sounds silly, but even things like, don't go that way, go that way. Or if you run now, you'll catch that bus. Or if, you know, and the times when I've been like, bloody running, you know, this is ridiculous. And then I just see the bus. And then I'll check City Map and it'll be, what do you mean next bus? 15 minutes. Anyone that lives out of London, I know that's very, very fast. But in London, we're used to having one every 2 or 3 minutes. So 15 minutes, you're like, what the fuck? I ain't got time for this, you know. And you're like, I should have listened, you know. And so even sometimes it's like really basic little things. And I feel like the more that you honour it, the more it will trust you with bigger things as well. It's almost like, I feel like sometimes it tests you. Like, are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you, there's this book, is it in, I think it's in Sacred Contracts, Caroline Myss's book. And it says, I'm trying to think of the quote off the top of my head now. It's something along the lines of, we're always here, we're always checking your attitude, we're always checking in. Something along those lines. And I thought it was quite interesting and quite beautiful, because like when your self-practice, and you might know this, and anyone listening, like when your self-practice is really strong and you're like in that space and you're like, yeah, everything just seems to fall into place. And then when you're busy and, you know, I mean, I'm no angel. I'm quite strict with, I don't like using the word strict. I'm quite disciplined with my self-practice now. But occasionally I have weeks, like last week actually, where everything slipped a bit because I was just busy with different things and my time just seemed to be taken away from me. And it was like a bit of a lesson, I think, for myself in being strict with my own time and what I choose to do with my time, and reclaiming back that power over, you know, do I choose to do this and help that person, or do I actually need to do something for myself in that time, you know? And I think when you start doing the little things and doing the practice and doing the work, they start to go, okay, we know we can trust you with more, we know we can trust you with more, and things become more of a flow. But I think one thing I really quickly wanted to touch on, it's kind of going back to what you said a moment ago as well, is like when you're trying to change and when you're going through transformations and you're, you know, I mean, I'm kind of the same as I was before. Like I'm still mischievous and a bit, you know, whatever. But I'm very, very different as well. Like the things that I used to enjoy, I don't always enjoy anymore. And so one of the transition periods for me was like I got sober for a really long time. For the first time in my life, I was sober for like 18 months. I'm not sober now. Sorry for anyone that's the thing. I kind of have a drink here and there, but my habits are very, very different. And I needed that period of time to recalibrate myself and to get to know myself and what I was like without that. And also having depression, anxiety, alcohol is not, you know, it's a known depressant. So if you're suffering with depression, I would highly recommend avoiding known depressants. And so you kind of have to let people around you, your friends, your family, your work colleagues, your people, you know, like you're saying now, you're being more assertive and they're used to you being not in your power. You kind of have to let people mourn the old you. And you kind of have to let yourself mourn the old you, because you're not the same anymore. You're moving on, you're developing, you're growing. And when you do that, oftentimes people will miss the old you. Like, you know, I was the first one to be getting tequilas in and being like, whoa, go, you know, and then suddenly I'm going out and ordering a soda water and lime. And people are like, have a drink. I'm like, I don't want to have a drink, you know. And so it's kind of just allowing people that space and time as well to kind of get to know their new friend. Like, even if you've been friends with them for 20 years, you're a new friend to them now, in a sense, because you are different. And it's giving yourself the time and space, and your friends and family and people around you the time and space to recalibrate to what that is now.
If they're prepared to do that as well. I think also one of the things that you have to be prepared for is the fact that sometimes situations will complete themselves, relationships will complete themselves, because they're not ready to accept you for whatever reason, or you might be a mirror to them as well. I think a lot of the things that I think what's even harder than actually just changing yourself is how much of a mirror then you start to be to other people, especially when your awareness and your perception gets pin sharp, and you can smell bullshit a mile off, you know, no matter how well people paint it, you're just like, that's a load of crap, you know. It's hard to,
but also, you know, human beings, we're like masters of disguise. We don't want to face our own shit either. This is why I work with practitioners, because there's certain things that I'm well aware of in myself that I know I need to do the work on, and that's cool, and I do my work and I'm diligent with the work that I do, and, you know, I'm persistent and I practice and all those things, you know. But then there's other things that I don't realize my own bullshit. You know, and you need someone to call you out on that. So it's good to work with other people, because, you know, they'll ask you questions and they'll delve into those bits of you that you're like, didn't really want to go there, you know, and then they're like, we're going there, and you're like, okay. And you know, and you can go there, because otherwise I think you can get, and it's not a good or a bad thing, you know, everyone's on a different journey, but it's like, if you want to continually be in a space of growth and expansion and feel like you're becoming lighter all the time, and then I think you need to keep, unfortunately, dredging the swamp. But you might get to a point where you don't need to do that, and that you're really, you know, I'm kind of doing a bit more of the stuff at the moment, you know, the Course in Miracles and all those things, where it's like nothing means anything unless I put meaning on it. Nothing.
One of the best ones.
Yeah, and it's because I can have a short fuse about certain things, so I try and work on that, you know. But and it's usually just silly things. Like, big things don't seem to rile me anymore. It will just be things like, if I'm late for something, I get flustered and I get, and then you think, well, does it really matter? If you're 5 minutes late, does it really, you know, it's good to be on time. It's nice not to let people down, but if there's a car, you know, like yesterday there was a I don't know what was happening. There was obviously some kind of road problem, and I was stuck on this bus because the trains weren't running, and I was trying to get to a client appointment, and I really hate, like, I always want to be on time for clients or meetings or anything like that, because I think it's just rude to not be. And so I was getting really, you know, when you keep checking City Mapper and checking the clock and going, shit, fuck, I'm not going to make it, you know. And then I just was kind of like, you can't change this situation. Like, what are you going to do? Go and move all the traffic out the way and then allow the bus to go through? Like, it's not your fault that you left yourself an extra half an hour to get there. You couldn't have done anything else outside of what you, and then when you just allow yourself to relax into that and not, you know, and this again comes back to choice and taking responsibility. You can choose to sit there and keep checking the phone and, this is the worst thing ever, I'm going to be so late and she's going to hate me and it's going to be horrendous, you know. Or you can just message the person and say, I'm so terribly sorry, I left myself loads of time to get here, and unfortunately this has not been my journey today. It's not working. I don't know what to say.
And like with living in London, it's like, you should know really that, like you say, 50, you know, 5 minutes can turn into 50 and can turn into 50, and then you're 2 hours late. And it's one of those London things, isn't it? Everything's so busy, you need to be there straight away, and then we can be delayed like a couple of hours when we only have to go like 2 miles down the road.
I know. And then other times you're like, blink and you're there, and you're like, how did that even happen? It's like every light is green, everything is like smooth on your journey, and you're like, wow, I don't even know how that happened, you know. I had actually, this is a funny connective story. I had to do some stuff for a client, and it really overran, and then I was running a workshop. It was my chakra series, and it was the solar plexus workshop. And every time I do a workshop, I have this like specific ritual that I do before I go to make sure like my energy is really clean and really strong, and that I'm going to bring like really good, and I call in all my guides, and I'm like, right, you know, let's do this, guys. It's going to be for everyone's like greatest highest good, and I get in this really like nice space. And because of this stuff that I was doing for a client that had overran, I was running out of time, and I was like getting really stressed, and then I just thought, stop it, order an Uber and just do your practice in the Uber, because it's going to be like 30 minutes in an Uber anyway to get there. And so I called the Uber and it arrived, and I was like, hopped in the car, and I've got a love-hate relationship with Uber because I don't think they're that nice to their staff, so I try not to use them. I try to use other forms of transport, but I was like, I'm in a stitch, I need to get there quick, and I don't have a lot of money, so Uber's convenient. So I hopped in the back of this cab and I said to the dude, I was like, I'm going to look really weird, but I have to do this meditation practice, so I hope you don't mind, in the back of the taxi. And he's like, no, do what you need to do, love. And I said, what time are we going to get there? And essentially we were going to arrive 15 minutes before the workshop start, which is not ideal for me, because I like to have at least 30 minutes to make sure I've set the space, I've set the energy. And I took my headphones, put them into my phone, and I put on this solar plexus. I think it's 256 hertz is for the solar plexus. And I was playing this sound, and I started doing this breathing practice. And it's this really beautiful solar plexus one that you can do where you just draw in sunlight and you imagine sunlight filling up your solar plexus. And I was filling up the taxi, and I was getting on her, and I was like breathing all this amazing energy, and I was feeling like I was in this really amazing space. And then I just sort of like, as I like was like, okay, I'm bringing this to end, and I was like locking everything in. I was like, thank you, and like give thanks to everything, and opened my eyes. And just as he was pulling up, and he went, I've never done that journey this fast. Wow. And I looked at the clock and I had half an hour. And he was like, I don't know what you did in the cab. He's like, but I've never done that journey this fast in my life. And I was like, thank you guys. moving all the traffic lights. Went in, set up, had an amazing workshop, and it was great. And I think, you know, when you choose to move away from fear and away from stress and away from, you know, anger and all those things, and try and pull it back into a nice, calm, peaceful, love, control, you know, space, amazing things can and I've just looked up and it's 11:11.
Right on time.
Can't make this shit up. It's so funny.
And I remember the woman who told me about it. It was like so many years before it even made any sense. It's like this 11:11 thing. I'm like, yeah. No, yeah. And it's like, you know, when you get information, like maybe like 5-10 years before it really makes sense in your head as to what you're supposed to do with it. But she was like, you know, there I am looking at 11:11 as well. Yeah. Just kind of told me all this information, and it was amazing. And you know what I wanted to just kind of really touch on as well, because I like the way that you work. I like the energy that you bring to it, because it is so friendly, because it can be sometimes that spirituality, and I think it's changing, can be so lofty and pious, and it's just,
I'm more spiritual than you,
isn't it, that kind of so it's,
I'm like, you're missing the point, hon.
there's this kind of thing that will put people off, you know, that kind of lavender and patchouli and like kind of wearing all the frippery stuff. I mean, I see it changing, especially with a lot of the mind, body, spirit exhibitions and expos that have become a little bit more funky and aware that it's 2017 and people want.
But also I think there's space for everyone, you know, this is what I think is so beautiful about this space. Essentially everyone's saying the same thing. We're all, you know, and there's a beautiful interview with Louise Hay, actually. God knows how, she must have only been about 40 or something, I think, when she did this one, and I love it, because she says she's coming out onto the stage. I think it must have been, it can't have been Hay House, because she couldn't have launched Hay House yet, but it must have been a similar kind of conference type thing, because she comes out onto the stage and she says something along the lines of, today you're going to hear lots of people talking, and some of them are going to resonate with you and some of them are not going to resonate with you. And we're probably all going to say the same thing. And I might come out and you might be like, who's this old kook? And you're not going to resonate with me. And then someone else will come out and they'll say exactly the same thing that I've said in a different way. And you'll have your notepad and you'll be scribbling down notes and you'll be really inspired to go away and do all this stuff. And this is how I feel about this space. It's like, not every teacher is going to resonate with you. Not every person is going to vibe off your energy. Like, lots of people are probably going to find me really, really annoying, and they're just going to be like, oh, you know, you're not this, or you are that, or you think you're this, or whatever. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, right? It's cool. It doesn't matter. It's the reason we all need to be doing this is because there's not enough love in the world. There's not enough balance. There's, you know, we're all comparing each other to everything else on social media, thinking that we're not enough, and it's bullshit. And I just want to show a different way of doing things. And I feel like, you know, not everyone is trying to be a monk, you know, like it's not everyone's path to be 1,000 levels of consciousness, you know. But I do think that it's everybody's path to tune into themselves and stop doing things they don't want to do, and stop feeling like shit on the reg. You know, like I used to wake up every day exhausted, and I would always be tired, and I would always think there has to be more. There has to be more to life than this. I can't just go on like this and then die. Like, really? And now I don't feel like that anymore. And yeah, some of the stuff I do is a bit woo-woo and a bit out there, you know, but also a lot of the stuff I do is pretty practical and just basic stuff. Like, don't do things you don't want to do. Have healthier boundaries. Reclaim your no. Say no to people when you don't want to do stuff. It's fine. Trust yourself. Love yourself. Don't allow other people to make you feel anything. If they're making you feel a certain way, find out what that trigger is, clear the trigger. They're not making you feel like that. They didn't put that button there that was to be pressed. That's something within you. That's probably something in your past that's happened to you. That, you know, the brain is amazing. It short circuits everything. I've seen this before. I know what it means, but sometimes it gets it wrong. So it's your responsibility to change those things. And, you know, yeah, not everyone's going to want to talk to angels or do whatever, but basic meditation, everyone should be doing that. It's yourself. It's your responsibility. You know, if you're going to eat burgers and pizza and heavy food all the time that you know deep down isn't good for you, fill yourself full of sugar and all this kind of stuff, you're not going to feel great. It's your responsibility what you put in your body. And I'm not saying, you know, anyone that knows me knows, my local chip shop knows me by my first name. You know, I'm not perfect, but it's, you know, enjoy those things. Wow. Food is food. It's not good or bad. It doesn't make you good or bad, but like, know that when you're deciding to do that, it's not necessarily for your highest good, you know, and just put those things in place and look after yourself and take responsibility, and don't be afraid to take responsibility. If you get things wrong, you get it wrong. You just start again the next day. It's cool, you know, you don't have to berate yourself and beat yourself up in order to get on with life and move forward and achieve anything. Sorry, I went on a bit of a...
No, I know. Like
rant there, didn't I?
It's the passion, Rachel. I could feel it moving in. And you know, I just wanted to, like, as well, because we didn't really touch on it, is like exactly what you're doing in your workshops. And I know you do a number of different things, but just what your work entails, because I know you use different modalities, but energy just seems to be like the core running through it, and that switch up in energy. And I just wanted you to kind of just speak into that for a little bit.
It's kind of complicated energy, isn't it? Like, because a lot of people don't believe in it because they can't see it, and that's cool. You know, I was there. I've been there, and so it can be a bit complicated. And also, I'm quite logical and I like science, and so when you try and I don't even know if this is a word, but I keep using it, so I'm claiming it as my new word. Maybe they'll put it in the Oxford Dictionary one day. When you try and logicize, that's all. Make something logical that's not logical. So when you try and talk about your experiences in other levels of consciousness, in other dimensions, in this dimension, we don't have the language, we don't have the ability to translate that to something that's relatable for someone if they haven't experienced that, because it's an experience, it's something that you feel, that you know. And so, you know, it's a bit like stress, right? Everyone seems to like know what stress is, but there's no exact thing. Like if you try and actually describe stress in a really dynamic, specific way, there's not really a way of doing that. It's like, oh, well, I feel overwhelmed. I feel a bit tight in my chest. I feel but then someone else is like, oh, I don't get the tightness. I feel sweaty in my palms. I feel like my head's tight. I feel, but then when we talk about stress, everyone knows what stress is.
Mm-hmm. It's like trying to explain a gong bath to somebody. It's like trying to put that into words. Yeah.
But then this is the thing where then, because I start becoming a bit more obsessed with science, gong baths work, sound therapy specifically works by entrainment. So what happens is your energy vibration is like this because you're stressed out, and the sound vibration is like this. And what happens is it merges. It's called entrainment, and that is proven by science. So, that's how gong bars work. That's how sound therapy in general works. And it's fascinating to me how we don't embrace that more, because we use ultrasound. So you're pregnant, you go for an ultrasound. That works by sound waves bouncing off the baby, if you're having it there or whatever they're looking at, and creating an image on a screen. So that no one goes, oh, that's kooky and weird, you're using sound as therapy. But yet when someone says, oh, I'm going to do a gong bath, or I'm going to use tuning forks, or I'm going to use singing bowls, they think it's crazy and kooky. But it's like, but we already use sound in medicine. So yeah, I guess, sorry, I'm gone really off topic here, but basically I mainly work with Reiki. I do EFT, which is tapping, which is a type of energy psychology. So it helps to calm the amygdala in the brain, which is a fight, flight, freeze response, and it helps you to retrain your neural pathways. It's something that I used extensively and still do for managing my depression, anxiety, and I've seen unbelievable changes in my clients. Like, I love doing EFT with people because it's just like poof, it works so quickly and so effectively, as long as you do the work. This is the thing, because you've got to do the work. And I also do sound therapy. So I just bought a gong, which is really exciting, but I also use singing bowls and koshi bells, and I like the twinkly sounds. And really just my whole thing is I just want to help people relax, release, realign, and reset. That's the whole thing. It's like, so I use a mix of different things. When I do my workshops, I have a chakra series. So that's all to do with the energy centers within the body, but also the psychological connection with the energy centers in the body. So I like to always have, I have a private Facebook group, and it's called Woo Woo Times Cross To Do. And it's because I really feel like there's definitely benefit over here in the woo-woo stuff, right? Tuning into your energy, meditation, angel cards, all the, whatever, all that kind of crazy woo-woo stuff, crystals, but you can't sit and wish yourself healthy. You can't sit and wish yourself rich. You can't sit and wish yourself a boyfriend, a husband, all the joyous things that you might want in your life. You can't just sit and wish. You have to actually action stuff as well. You have to take responsibility for yourself, you have to actually action these changes. Otherwise, who was it? It said Einstein, isn't it? If you do the same thing and expect a different result, you're crazy. And so, in order to learn from this stuff over here and then action it, it's really important. So that's what I try and teach in all my workshops, whether it's the reset, the chakra series. I've got a couple of new things that I'm launching. Planorama, which is going to launch for next January. How to plan your life around things that you love and not do things that you don't want to do. And also my seasonal serenity, which is going to help people with kind of surviving Christmas, because I know that the festive period isn't always the friendliest period for everyone. We can get lonely, we can overeat and stuff, we can have to put up with family that we maybe don't want to see, or people that we maybe don't want to be around. Money can be really difficult. So I'm basically put together a 4-week program that's going to help guide people through each of those things on a week by week basis throughout December. So that's going to be really quite fun, I think. And I guess I just want to show people a different way, and I want to show people that it's okay to allow yourself to change. You don't have to stay because people expect you to stay that way. You don't have to stay in that job, stay in that relationship, do things that you've always done because people expect that of you. You can make changes, you can transform yourself. It's okay to relax. You don't have to do all the time. It's okay to release old patterns of behavior. It's okay to release old emotions. Like, just because you always get angry at that doesn't mean you have to, for the rest of your life, always get angry about that, you know. And that's not to say move into what I call this kind of pseudo positivity, like everything's fine, and you're basically burying everything and like, fine, because that's not great either. You know, we're human. We have this beautiful plethora of emotions, you know. Feel it. You're angry, be angry. Like, I'm not saying go fight people in the street or, you know, unleash unimaginable rage on the world or whatever. As long as you're kind of processing these emotions in a healthy way, you need to process them. You know, there's a really cool thing that you can do actually if you suffer with anger, where you get a towel and you twist the towel, and every breath you breathe your anger into the towel, and you keep doing it until eventually it gets really, really tight and you can't twist it anymore, and you put all your anger in it and then you let it go.
Whoa.
And it's really powerful. It's really cool. Or like punching your pillows on your bed, it's good. Or going to a boxing class, you know, like there's loads of healthy ways that you can actually get these emotions out of your body, out of your system, so that they don't eat you up, they don't turn into things that, you know, our bodies hold on to stuff. It's good to...
The anger one that you spoke, there's a meditation that I do every morning, Kundalini meditation, Fists of Anger, which is pretty much where you're kind of, you hold these kind of fists and you're breathing in and out through your mouth, and you're getting angry for 3 minutes, and you literally have to get as angry as you possibly can get. You're just
amazing.
Like pulling it up, but then as you're doing it, you're imagining you're just literally pulling everything that's pissed you off, everything that's winding you up, things that you can't do, things that you say to yourself.
Oh my God, I'm going to do this one.
I'll send you a link to it. And it's one that I know in recent times there have been a couple of moments where, had I have not done that, and I was aware of the time, I was kind of caught in it and I was angry, but I was not to the extent that I would be. And there was part of me going, if you hadn't have been doing that meditation for the past couple of months, someone would be on the floor right now, or someone would be locked up. And it was like,
don't mess with Carol, guys.
No, I do Fists of Anger every day. I'm all right, don't worry.
She's a strong woman.
But it's one of those things where it's like, had I have not been doing that and channeling that, I would have flipped out and it would have gone that way. And I was very, very much aware of it.
I think now there's this whole thing around positivity, and me and my friend Kat, I love Kat, she's amazing, she does yin yoga. We're doing a workshop together, actually a half-day seasonal retreat on the 18th of November. It's going to be amazing. She's really an amazing yin instructor. Like, that girl knows her meridians. And we were talking about this whole thing of like positivity and how everyone's trying to be positive all the time, and how it can actually be quite damaging, because, you know, it is important to, we don't want to, you know, and especially for myself, like managing my depression, anxiety, it's like I can't allow myself to go into those depths. I have to pull myself back out. But that doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to ever be sad. It doesn't mean I'm never going to get anxious or fearful about something. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to get angry, or I'm never going to, you know, these emotions are still going to come and present themselves to you. It's just learning, like Fists of Anger or meditation, or like when I get anxious I tap now, and I have like, you know, different ones that I do that, you know, if I'm on a bus, for example, I just do this one on my hand, because you can do it by your leg. People can't even see that you're doing it necessarily, rather than the one that's all over your face. And people are like, what the hell are you up to? You know, but you find these different ways. Or you know, this one's a really good one. Like if you start feeling anxious, you have 2 points here, and you can just tap them, you know. And if you're at work, you can do it in the bathroom quickly, you know. You just do it for like 1 minute and focus on your breath as you do it. You know, there's all these different ways of being able to manage healthily the full range of emotions, rather than just being pseudo positive about everything. Like, oh, it doesn't matter that someone close to me died, I'm happy. You know, that's not cool either. You just need to be able to process everything. So
Fabulous. So we're going to kind of wrap up a little bit as well. I could talk to you for ages.
I know, like the other day. was, oh shit, we've been chatting for hours.
No, but that's when I think I have this thing though with like everyone who I've been inviting on and just kind of having like preliminary chat. It's like we'll just kind of Skype or Zoom and just talk about stuff, and like 3 hours later I'm like, yeah, you know.
It's
And
hard, like when you're passionate about stuff though, you know, it's
yeah.
hard, it's hard to keep it in, isn't it? It's like, and when you speak to other people and you vibe off them, and then you learn and you share knowledge, and you know, and this is really one of the reasons I set up my Facebook group, is because I feel like there's so much benefit to everyone in this kind of sharing knowledge. And last night I did a live in there because we set our intentions every week and hold each other accountable, and it was really beautiful because one girl was saying that she had this issue, and another girl was like, oh my god, I can teach you about that. And so now they've like hooked up outside of the group and they're gonna like share knowledge basically. And I'm like, yes, you know, this is exactly what it's about, is just showing a different way, showing, you know, sharing knowledge so that people can make an informed decision over what they want to do.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I want these conversations to be about. It's like you say, everyone's voice is not going to hit home with everybody.
No.
But I know I've got like the plethora of, almost like the Spice Girls, you know, there's someone who do well. There as well. Who are you going to be, Rachel? Sporty? Would you?
Who would I be?
As a Spice Girl.
Oh,
Random question. I know that wasn't on the list.
I know, I'm just trying to think which one I would be. I think I'd be I'd probably end up being Ginger, like the sort of weird one. I just liked her dress. I loved that Union Jack dress.
That one, that was a move, wasn't it?
That was brave. That was a tea towel.
Yeah, it was.
That was made out of a tea towel. Very creative.
And what I like so much about Geri Halliwell is how proper and gentrified she's become now. She lives in a big house in the country, and all of that ginger. Yeah, she's terribly proper now. Yeah, I mean, she's still ginger, but
maybe she was always like that. It was just
who knows?
She was just a persona for public persona. You never know, do you, with these celebrities?
Posh was posh from day one, wasn't she? Nothing's changed there.
Nothing's changed. Which one would you be?
If I was going to be a Spice Girl, I think I would probably be who's there? Baby, ginger, sporty. What's the other one? Scary.
Posh and scary.
Yeah, it depends. Like others might say that I might be a bit scary, but I don't think I'm that leery. I think I'd like to think that I've got elements of posh with a bit of sporty.
Nice.
Just nice. Posh with some sporty just sprinkled on the top a little bit, just to kind of spice up life a little bit. You know,
spice up your life.
Okay, so a couple of closing questions I've got for you. So, what is the best piece of advice a woman has ever given you?
Do you know what? It's probably things that my mum used to say to me when I was a kid, you know, like she was always really, like things that she used to say to me when I was a kid that I didn't actually, you know, like you're saying about how you get information but you don't actually absorb it or take it on board. And I was always like bigger than my sister. My sister's quite skinny and I'm quite chunky in my build and stuff like that. And so my mum used to really, she was so sweet, and she used to cut my labels out of my clothes, and she'd say, it doesn't matter about the size of the clothes, it matters how you look in them, and it doesn't matter what's on the outside, it matters what's on the inside, and all this kind of stuff. And really what she was trying to do was install in me all these things that I now try and install in other people, right? It's like, just love yourself, trust yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think. So yeah, I would probably go with my mum, actually. Yeah, she's really quite an amazing woman, actually. I'm very lucky.
They usually have the best advice anyway. Like mum.
Yeah, depends. Some people are like, oh.
Okay, and then also, which female do you think represents higher energetic resonance?
This was another one that I found really difficult because there's a few.
Yeah, well,
Oprah. Mm-hmm. I love her so much. Like everything she does, I'm like, I wish you were my grandma. Like I really love her so much. I just think she's got a really beautiful way of going about things, and like, yeah, I don't know. There's something about her that's just, she's so connected and she's so honest. and open, and I feel like she has this kind of brave energy without it. Do you know, like how some people have this brave energy, but it's like a warrior, whereas she's like a brave energy, but it's like and it's like she's scooping you up rather than, you know, like she wants to scoop you up and take you with her rather than tell you how it's going to be or whatever. So definitely Oprah. Gabrielle Bernstein, I love her stuff. Danielle Laporte, I find her amazing. Marie Forleo, I love her as well. And my Reiki master, Lee Fergus, because she's just like a huge inspiration to me. And she does things her way. She doesn't take any. She's from Glasgow. She's quite, you know, she's very Scottish. She would be, you know, she's got very strong boundaries. But yeah, I'm really lucky actually. I've got loads of amazing and women in my life as well that really inspire me. You know, like I've got lots of close friends of mine who really inspire me in loads of different ways. So I'm actually very, very lucky with my network of women that I have around me, and people that inspire me on a daily basis.
That's amazing. And you said a little bit before, but again, your favourite self-care ritual or practice?
My bath.
Hey.
I love it. Like, and this is thank you to Cheryl from She's Lost Control, who sort of like made me. Well, she didn't make me. She gave me these bath salts that she makes, right? And they're called Love Salts, and they're like ridiculous because it's got rose quartz, little mini bits of rose quartz in it. It's got I can't remember all the things it's got in it, but then there's rose petals in it as well. And so I had this bath this one time, and she Reikis all the bath salts as well. I had this bath and it was like, this is amazing. And so now every week I put a shed ton of Epsom salt, some Himalayan salt. I get my doTERRA oils, put in different mixes depending what vibe I'm going for. But there's usually some frankincense, some lavender in there, maybe grapefruit if I want it to be uplifting, or you know, I don't know. There's loads of different mixes that I do, and then I charge a few different crystals and I put them in the bath, and then I get rose petals and I chuck them in. It's a real event, you know. And I stay in there for ages, and I keep pulling the plug out and then topping it up with my toe. And I stay in there for ages and I read. There's no electronics allowed, because I used to do this thing where I'd take my laptop into the bathroom and I would watch, you know, I don't know, TED Talk or something on my laptop. But now I've banned electronics from the bathroom, so I don't have my phone in there. I don't have anything in there, and I just light candles and read a book and just really like. And sometimes I give myself Reiki, and yeah, it's really, yeah, that's definitely my thing.
That sounds so good. And I'm glad that you're not kind of mixing the electronics and water thing, because, you know, doesn't
no, right? It's actually quite dangerous. But then when you just put it on the toilet, you don't really think that it's going to like fall, you know, not when you put the lid down.
Yeah.
Like it's a good height. That's going to sound really weird.
People will understand. They will understand.
So one day I'll have a bathroom with a chaise lounge and I'll put it on that. But right now I'll just put it on the bog.
Some of those like elevating ones that come out of the end of the bed. We see like you test them and the TV comes up. Oh, the life of luxury. I don't think I'd have a TV in the bedroom if I had a choice, actually. I don't
have a TV. I don't really watch. Do you know, this is the one thing where it's like people today this morning like, oh my God, Stranger Things. And I was like, I've never seen it. They're like, what do you mean you've never seen it? I'm like, I've never seen it. Game of Thrones, never seen it. It was like,
I haven't either. I'm kind of living in a. I think but I know that Stranger Things is on Netflix. So I recently reinstated my Netflix a little bit, but
I think it comes back to this whole thing as well. Like if I want to meditate for an hour, sometimes 2 hours a day, and I want to give myself Reiki for 30 minutes a day, and I want to. Do you know what I mean? Like there's all these things in my daily spiritual practice that I want to do, and like I'm obsessed with metaphysics and energy books, and so I feel like it's almost like my thing that I just want to get all this knowledge. I'm like trying to get the knowledge. I want it in here so that I can use it to help people, you know. And I can't do all those things if I'm spending 5 hours a week watching a show. you know. So again, it comes down to choice, doesn't it? It's like, and I'm not saying it's bad to sit and, you know, because for some people that's their switch off, you know, but for me it becomes like I watch 1 and then 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then before I know it's 1 a.m. and I haven't, you know, my sleep pattern goes out, and then I don't get up early enough to do my meditation in the morning, and it's like a slippery slope. Whereas if I don't watch those things, then I tend to be a bit more balanced, a bit more in my good energy, you know.
Perfect. And then just let everybody know what's next for you. I know you've mentioned some things coming up in November. I'm not sure when this episode's coming out, so just run it till like what's coming up over the till the end of the year.
I guess really the most exciting thing is my partnership with Jade Jasmine, running the Wellbeing program for Creative House, which you might be able to see this beautiful space in the background. So it's a new co-working and office space for the creative and the curious in Hackney, and it's amazing. It's a really, really amazing space, and it's privately owned, so it's not like some big corporate thing like WeWork. It's 2 brothers that are investing their own money, and just kind of, you know, they really want to create a cool community and support emerging businesses and creatives, and I just really vibe off their vibe, you know. And so we've got this beautiful space here, and Jade and I are collaborating. Jade's an amazing massage therapist, and she's done her Reiki 1, and, you know, she's just really connected and beautiful. And so, yeah, between the 2 of us, we're bringing in regular yoga, regular meditation. I'm going to start doing my sound baths from here. There's, you know, you can get massage, you can get one-to-one therapies with me, whether it be Reiki, EFT, sound baths, you know, one-on-one sound journeys. I'm also kind of moving a bit into mentoring as well with my reset program, helping people to really transform, change their mindset, and be able to move forward with whatever area of their life they want to work on. And then I guess moving a little bit more onto online. So the stuff that I'm doing with Seasonal Serenity program, and also the Planorama program, which will be coming out in January as well. So I ran as a workshop last year twice, and it was really powerful, but I found that there wasn't really it felt like people had all these great intentions, and then it kind of like trailed off because there was no follow-up. So this year I really want to do it so that we meet in person monthly, or online. If you can't make it, we can get you tuned in on Zoom, and then there's like homework for that month, and it's basically like a 3-month program, so you can really, really transform your whole life, plan it around the things that you want to do, what you could be doing, not what you should be doing, basically. So yeah, that's kind of where it's all going, I think. And yeah, it's really exciting to have this beautiful space to work from, and to be able to be part of building a new community as well.
That's brilliant, and I wish you well as well, because I you know, we met in such a completely different space.
I know, it's bizarre, isn't it?
And then it's, you know, when I was like putting the whole podcast together, and I was thinking, well, who do I know? And just looking through all the people that I knew online as like Facebook friends and close friends, I realised I knew all these amazing women from all different walks of life, but we'd met a lot of the time on very kind of random, not spiritually connected kind of ways, and it just kind of goes from there as well. And just to see how everyone in the space of time that I've known, like some of them I've only known for a matter of months, what has just happened to them in that already. And it was just like, when I'm doing this, let me just get everyone on, and let's just get talking, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah,
so it's great for that. So, you know, I want to thank you for coming and being part of this kind of vision that I have, you know.
Thank you for having me. I love chatting to you.
We'll chat more for sure, you know, and I need to come down to Creative House and really
please do come, because we've got I mean, I don't know when this is coming out, but we've got yoga Wednesday evenings and Monday mornings at the moment. The morning session might move because the PIP, I think it might be in Bristol for odd bits, so the morning one might move, but Wednesday evening it's going to be on the reg until the new year, when we're going to look at the timetable. So, and also if there's anything from you or from the people that are listening to this this is a real community project. So if there's stuff that you want us to do here, because we're looking also at doing inspirational talks and different workshops, day retreats, there's loads of things that we've got in the plans. So if there's things that you're like, oh my God, I'd love it if you got that teacher in, or it'd be great if you could do a talk around this or whatever, like please get in touch and communicate with us, because we're creating this essentially for others. We want to build a community, so it's not just about like what we want, it's kind of about what the collective wants. So any feedback or ideas or anything that you'd like to see happen, we can put it in the pot, and if it resonates with the team, then we can make it happen.
So how can people find you? How can we connect with you? Where are you?
Where am I? Well, I'm mainly, they've actually made a joke here because I got my gong. I didn't get a gong before because it was like, where the hell am I going to practice? In my flat, I can't practice because my neighbours are not, they don't want to listen to gong, basically. They don't want to listen to gong. So now I've got this space, I'm like, oh my God. So I've been like here late, practicing and playing and whatever. And so they've made a joke that I've moved in. So I'm at Creative House quite a lot at the moment. But if you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram. My company is Welford Wellbeing. So it's WELFORD Wellbeing, all one word. And it's the same on Facebook, Welford Wellbeing. I've got my private Facebook group, which is Woo Woo times to do. If you're searching for it, I didn't really think of the name. Everyone's like, huh, what? It's WOOWOO cross TODO. But you should be able to find it from my Facebook page. I've got a YouTube channel that's a bit lackluster. I'm trying to make more content, sorry, but there's a couple of things on there. And my website is www.welfordwellbeing.com. I teach at Dragonfly Yoga on a Sunday night, and that's ongoing every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. So if you live in Brockley, South London, that's where to find me down those ways. Otherwise, I'm mainly in Hackney or Highbury Islington. I also work out of the Healthy Living Centre in Highbury Islington. So they're the three places really to find me in real life, or if you want to find me online, it's at Welford Wellbeing.
Perfect. So thank you once again, Rachel, for being
thanks for having me.
And we'll link up in real life soon, but
yes,
we're connected anyway. And
yeah, definitely.
Sister in spirit for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for having me on.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
And there you have another episode. So thank you for staying with us. It was extra long, but I felt that I needed to keep everything that was in. There was so much in everything that we talked about. It would have been a shame to leave any of that on the figurative cutting room floor, as it were. So thank you for making it this far. And also thank you to the people who are sending a message here and there. Every week I'll get another WhatsApp message or a DM or an email just to say that they've heard one of the episodes and it really resonated with them, and it just makes me doing what I'm doing feel like it's actually worthwhile. A lot of the time when you start these things, you never know whether the actual message or the idea of it is going to make any difference, but it seems like it already has, and for that I'm really grateful and very humbled. So in order to get every new episode directly downloaded into your device, then just hit subscribe and it will be there waiting for you every Monday morning. Also, I want to say, if you want to reach out to me, you can contact me a couple of ways, either via my website, which is carolmaywhittick.com, that's CarolMaywhittick.com, and I'm on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram, and my handle is Kazmic, so CAZMICK. So thank you again for listening to another episode, and look out for another one next week. Thank you.